but they defeated that misconception. Although they were localites, they became full-time devotees in the temple, both brothers. And they have done many, many laudable services since the Radha Kunjibari temple days in various departments. Sundarvar Prabhu is a multifaceted personality. They both are expert in computer work also. When I was designing my books in the early days, in layouting and printing and all those things, they were helping also. In fact, they are very faithful in going through the courses and conducting courses. In Chennai, there was a group of aeronautics engineers, about 20 of them. And Sankitanpu, Sundarpu were the one actually taking care of those people. Many of them became wonderful devotees going through the course. They would actually answer all the questions and send it to me. I would correct and send back to them. So very meticulous in the training they gave. Later on, as the years passed, our Sundarvar Prabhu, like you are seeing this beautiful temple, he has a very big hand in this temple. All the dioramas you see, murals you see, they were done by one Milan Bagh and team of diorama makers from Calcutta, very, very highly talented people, and he brought them and personally sat with them for more than 3-4 months sitting and getting it all done. Also the Dhruva Maharaj pastime and Narsingha Leela and Krishna Leela. So all these things, he got it all done by personally observing, guiding, supervising them. Even when the deities had to be brought for this temple, so Sundarar Prabhu took the lead and he said, we want a very beautiful lordship to manifest here, who will look like Radha Gopinath and Radha Shyamsundar and Radha Madhava of Mayapur. He'll have the beauty of all the deities combined. So he actually saw all the different deities, and he also has a talent in photograph also. He has got many high density pictures of photos of such kind of things, and he is a very, very good creative thinker. So then he made a particular type of photo, and then he approached the deity makers, told them this is the kind of deity we want. So he went and stayed there practically 2 months, especially at the time when the deities were about to be carved very beautifully. Very, very. Now many, many temples are inviting him. You also come and stay with us and make the deities for us, they're asking. And this is one side of his personality. But he is a very, very vigorous preacher and a very good strategy planner. Even in those days, in Kunjibari days, he used to come and tell me, Prabhu, there are 13 taluks in Pune. What are we doing in all the talukas? We are just sitting in Pune camp. We have to expand our preaching. So our bus party used to go and sell books and come. So his idea was that in each of the taluks we should have some activity going on. Later on he was sent to Saswad for preaching, and Vella. You all know there is a farm connected to this temple. Vella temple, where there is Sri Sri Radha Damodar. So establishing the temple of Radha Damodar temple and taking care of the Vella farm with a team of devotees he has been doing for many, many years. From there he was also going to Saswad, where Saswad is a place of education. Many schools, school principals, teachers, they all come for the programs. Whenever I go there, I see that he has a very organized approach to cultivating that community in giving them varieties of services. They themselves cook prasad, and they also, many of the congregation people make in teams like Govinda's type of thing they are running. They are also doing farming. He, along with Sakinath Prabhu, they are bringing about 1,000 farmers in the villages under one roof to train them in Krishna consciousness in such a way that they will do organic farming and they will not kill the cows. Rather, they will protect the cows, every farmer. And also in the villages around, varieties of ideas of how the poor people in the village can be given support in such a way that they will take to Krishna consciousness. So he has many, many innovative ideas, and he came up with the Panduranga Bhavan, a hall in Saswad to begin with. Now they are going to come up with a big temple also there eventually. So he is a very good congregation developer, youth preacher as well as congregation developer, and an artist as well as creative strategy planner. We can say many things about Sundarvar Prabhu's personality. Very intelligent devotee, and currently he stays at Saswad and he is developing 5-6 projects from there, like Falton and Shirul. What is that? Shirwal, Falton, and which are the other places? Jejuri and Saswad, Jejuri and Shirwal and Falton, many other projects. He has a team of brahmacharis whom he sent. Now they have a beautiful Goshala also in Saswad. Recently I went. I saw very, very nicely taken care of cows. So we take a lot of his help in, especially innovating ideas for doing something very wonderful. So he is here today for the class. And actually during this time when youths are coming together, we thought every day we will have one special speaker. Yesterday we had Vrindavan Prabhu. So today we have Sundarvar Prabhu. Hari Bol! Hari Bol!
Hare Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Jai Radha Vrindavan Chandra Radha Vrindavan Chandra Radhe Jai Jagannatha Jagannatha Baladeva Jai Subhadra Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jai Gauranitai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Jaya Jai Gurudev, 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 Jai Gurudev. Nithai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. कलयुग पावन श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Hare Krishna. Today we are reading from Granth Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 16, King Chitraketu meets Lord. Verse number 30. Mrunalagauram Shittivasa Samsvarat Kireetakeyurakatitra-kankanam Prasanna-vaktra-runalochanamratam Dadarsha-siddheshvara-mandale Prabhum. Mrunalagauram Shittivasa Samsvarat Kireetakeyurakatitra-kankanam Prasanna-vaktra-runalochanamratam Dadarsha-siddheshvara-mandale Prabhum. Mrunalagauram Shittivasa Samsvarat Kireetakeyurakatitra-kankanam Prasanna-vaktra-runalochanamratam Dadarsha-siddheshvara-mandale Prabhum. Kireetakeyurakatitra-kankanam Prasanna-vaktra-runalochanamratam Dadarsha-siddheshvara-mandale Prabhum. Auram Shittivasa Samsvarat Kireetakeyurakatitra-kankanam Dadarsha-siddheshvara-mandale Prabhum. Mrunalagauram Shittivasa Samsvarat Kireetakeyurakatitra-kankanam Vaktra-runalochanamratam Dadarsha-siddheshvara-mandale Prabhum. Matajis. Mrunalagauram Shittivasa Samsvarat Kireetakeyurakatitra-kankanam Prasanna-vaktra-runalochanamratam Siddheshwaramandale Prabhum. Word to word meaning, translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Mrunala Gauram, white like fibers of the lotus. Shitivasasam, wearing garments of blue silk. Spurat, glittering. Kirita, helmet. Keyura, armlets. Katitra, belt. Kankanam, whose bangles. Prasannavaktra, smiling face. Arunalochanam, having reddish eyes. Vratam, surrounded. Dadarsha, he saw. Siddha Ishvara Mandala, by the most perfect devotees. Prabhum, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation. Upon reaching the shelter of Lord Shesha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Chitraketu saw that he was as white as the white fibers of a lotus flower. He was dressed in bluish garments and adorned with a brilliantly glittering helmet, armlets, belt and bangles. His face was smiling and his eyes were reddish. He was surrounded by such exalted, liberated persons as Sanat Kumaras. This is the purport for this. So we'll read the translation of the next verse. As soon as Maharaj Chitraketu saw the Supreme Lord, he was cleansed of all material contamination and situated in his original Krishna consciousness. Being completely purified, he became silent and grave. And because of love for Lord, tears fell from his eyes and his hairs stood on end. With great devotion and love, he offered his respectful obeisances unto the original personality of Godhead. Purport. The word Taddarshana, Dvashta, Samasta Kilvishay is very important in this verse. If one regularly sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the temple, one will gradually be disinfected of all material desires simply by visiting the temple and seeing the deity. When one is freed from all the results of sinful activities, one will be purified, and with a healthy mind, completely cleansed, he will increasingly make progress in Krishna consciousness. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvase Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Shri Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So we'd like to welcome all devotees and all the students from different parts of India. So with the blessings of all the senior devotees, especially His Grace Radheshyam Prabhu, whatever I have heard from other devotees, I'll try to speak and share the points for my own purification. So this is a very nice verse of today's class, where King Chitraketu Maharaj is personally taking darshan of the Lord. And it is very relevant for all the devotees, because by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we have a chance to meet the Lord every day, see the Lord every day, and relish the beautiful darshan of the Lord. So that's why, as this particular shloka says, that as soon as Maharaj Chitraketu saw the Supreme Lord, he was cleansed of all material contaminations and situated in his original Krishna consciousness, being completely purified. So when we come in the temple, we come in front of the Lord. One of the first thing which, at least as a sadhaka, we are supposed to understand before we take the darshan of the Lord is who sees whom. That's the first part. Because many times we think that we are going to see the Lord. But actually, as we often hear from teachings of Srila Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, where he says that don't try to see Lord, because what we can see with our own eyes, with a made of flesh. So don't try to see Lord, but serve Lord in such a way that He would like to see us. So that's why this is the first part, that who sees whom, whether we see Lord or Lord sees us. And which is more important? We seeing Lord is more important, or Lord seeing us is important? Yeah. So that's why this should be very clear from our perspective, that we come to temple so that we are seen by the Lord. Because what we can see, we can't even see our own eyelids, eyelashes. So our limited capacity, we will not be able to exactly understand the personality of Lord God with our own materially contaminated vision. In fact, when Lord was personally present 5,000 years ago, many people saw Lord. But actually they never saw, because they had very little faith. Their hearts were not purified. But at the same time, devotees like Kunti Maharani, devotees like Pandavas, Bhishma, Vidura, they also saw Lord. Especially when we see that when Duryodhan and Arjun both went to Dwarka, so the result of seeing Lord with purified heart is the behavior. So Duryodhan's behavior and Arjun's behavior, there's a gulf of difference. When Duryodhan went, although he went before Arjuna, he went at the head of the Lord, and he sat there. But when Arjun came, Arjun sat at the lotus feet of the Lord. So that's the first change or transformation, when we take darshan of Lord with a purified heart, with a clear consciousness. that our behavior, our dealings will change. As here also, this particular verse says that Chitraketu Maharaj became silent and grave. So we'll discuss that also. What is the meaning of silent and grave? But the first part is when devotees see Lord, surely the consciousness and their behavior matters a lot. That's why when Lord got up from his sleep, first thing he saw was Arjun. And the first opportunity was given by Lord was to Arjun. Similarly, in Vrindavan Leelas, we see that Putana also saw Lord, but actually she didn't understood the personality of Lord. So that's why this particular shloka, which explains about the purification of the heart, especially the living entity becomes purified by coming in close contact with the Supreme Lord and his devotees. And what is the meaning of purification? One becomes purified from the 6 enemies. So since I also preach to rural part of the Pune, there are some nice, there is one person nicely composed, kind of a essence of the spiritual life, where it gives us understanding that what is the meaning of conditioned soul and liberated soul in connection with the purification of the heart. So this statement is in Marathi, but we'll try to see that how it can be made in Hindi, so that we'll understand the connection of the words. So this 6 enemies which are there in heart, we call them as, in the Sanskrit, Shadaripu. In Farsi language, it is known as Abe. So this person nicely composed that this 6 in Marathi it is called as Saha, Che. So one who accepts very easily the 6 enemies in his heart is called as Sadharan Jeev, Dharan, accepting. But one who finishes this, उसको अंत बोलते हैं. तो जो व्यक्ति ये 6 शत्रुओं का अंत करते हैं उसको संत बोलते हैं. So that is very important, that when we come in the touch with the purified souls, because the pure devotees of Lord, they are always in touch with the Lord, so that's why they are always on a purified stage. So when even we come in the touch with the devotees of the Lord, pure devotees of Lord, we'll get the same experience. As many devotees who became disciples of Prabhupada, they also have shared many experiences of their own life, that how they became purified by coming in close touch with the personality like Srila Prabhupada. Especially we have example of one very special devotee, Haridas Prabhu. In fact, wherever he goes, he always shares his experience, that he was, before coming to Krishna consciousness, he was a thief, pickpocketer. And he feels great pride to share that. So when he was in the jail, he happened to see the Back to Godhead magazine, and he saw beautiful photo of Srila Prabhupada, and somebody had given him the gift of gold watch. So when he saw that, so his vision was, how can I get this? And first thing is, he understood that this is an old person, so it will be very easy for me to steal. And then he very carefully kept that magazine with him, because there was an address of our Juhu temple in Bombay. So the day when he got out from the jail, the first thing he did was, he went to our temple. And of course, the devotees did not understand who he was, his background, but somehow he managed to go inside the temple and inside the room of Srila Prabhupada. And he was very excited that now I can very easily steal this old man's watch. But he was not aware who this old man was. And when he went in the room and he saw Prabhupada, Prabhupada also looked at him, looked in his eyes very intently. And the first thing he said, "You're looking for this watch?" And that was the end of his desire to steal. So that is the power of coming in the association of even great exalted devotees. So when we see in this perspective that we are coming to temple to be seen by Lord, we also need to know what is the power of the glance of Lord. If we read the pages of Ramayana, we see that Lord Ram wanted to go to Sri Lanka. So he sat on the shores of the sea in the mood of requesting the ocean to give the path. But ocean did not understand who was the personality sitting there. And he did not respond to the desire of the Lord. So when Lord, out of anger, looked at the ocean, we all know what happened to ocean. He was literally started boiling. All the aquatics in the ocean became very disturbed. So that is the power of the glance of the Lord. In fact, we see that scriptures explain, especially the creation process where Saha Aikshitaha, that Lord glanced at the material nature and the whole Prakriti became activated. So that is the power of glance of the Lord. In contrast of that, what is the power of our glance? Nothing happens. We may see at somebody, but we may see at the water for millions of years, but it will never boil. So that is not the same with us. So our power is very well limited. So that's why scripture says that what we can see when we come in front of the Lord, actually we cannot see anything. So that's why at least when we read scriptures, we understand the potency of the Lord. Especially when we read Bhagavatam, the first 9 cantos of Bhagavatam explain the power of the Lord, the supremacy of Lord. And then only one goes to the face of the Lord, which is 10th canto. Coincidentally, if we see Kunti Maharani's prayers, she also begins from the lotus feet in her prayers. And finally, she glorifies the face of the Lord. So that's the right process when we take darshan of the Lord. In fact, looking at the lotus feet of Lord, scriptures say that when we look at the toenail, the front portion of the toenail, it actually purifies our material desires. That is the speciality of the toenail of the Lord. Because toenail is a place from where the Brahmajyoti appears in the spiritual world, the light which is there in the spiritual world. So that's why devotees begin the darshan of the Lord by the lotus feet. In fact, Rupa Goswami says that one of the 6 claims of Sharanagati is Namrata, humility. That when we approach Lord with a sincere, genuine humility, we get complete benefit of approaching the Lord. Somebody approaches Lord with arrogance or doubts or very contaminated consciousness, we will not get the same benefit as what we see in Mahabharata, that many people came across Lord, but their consciousness, their attitude was not appropriate. That's why Prabhupada says that don't try to see Lord, but develop this humility in such a way that you serve Lord with the humility, that Lord feels that I want to see these devotees. Also, 10th canto of Bhagavatam, 13th chapter, which is translated by Prabhupada. Prabhupada says in that purport that those Vishnu forms bless the devotees with their clear glances and smiles, which resemble the increasingly full light of the moon. Shreya Kairava Chandrika. So they glanced upon their devotees, embracing them and protecting them by smiling. So Lord's smiles resemble the mode of goodness. So that's why when devotees also sees the form of the Lord, the goodness also naturally prevails the heart, and naturally one becomes free from the material contaminations in the heart. That's why we should be aware that it is actually Lord's glance over us which matters a lot than our glance towards the Lord. So that's why devotees always approach Lord with this mood. And especially this particular verse where it explains that after seeing the Lord, Chitraketu Maharaj became silent and grave. So this does not mean that the explanation which is given in the monistic philosophy, that silence, so that is not a type of silence which is explained here. As Prabhupada many times explains that the real silence is to always preach the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. That's actual silence. And as even the Saint Tukaram Maharaj also explains, ekanta savasa nahi guna dosha lage. So many people misinterpret that. Those who are Mayavadis or impersonalists, they always take this kind of verses from the scriptures and give their own misinterpretations. But actual ekanta is what? The Vaishnavas explain that one whose anta is only Supreme Lord, one who is only desiring to approach the Supreme Lord. So such association is called as ekanta savas, means such a devotees who are having the same desire to achieve the Lord. So that is actually the meaning of this particular word. Similarly here, it says that he became silent. So we will see next verses what is the meaning of silence. So Chitraketu Vacha, that will begin. So that is the meaning of silence, that he very nicely composed the different verses in the glorification of Lord. So the real silence is to always speak about Krishna. The real silence is to always think about Lord. The real silence is to always think of services to Lord. So otherwise there is no meaning of this particular word, silence. So as I was saying that when we come across a deity from the Lord, it purifies our heart. Similarly, when we come across the pure devotees of Lord, that also purifies our heart. And the devotees who are very sincerely practicing Krishna consciousness, even if we come in touch with those devotees, we also get inspired to practice the process of Krishna consciousness. So that's why, at least I think that when I got in touch with devotees here, and especially when I started coming to Kunj Bihar temple, whatever services Prabhuji has explained, that's only because of his own association. He also always inspired, especially whenever we associate myself and Sundar Shyam Prabhu. So Radha Shyam will express his desires, especially one of the place where we're discussing that he said that when I came to Pune, I had only two goals in my mind: book distribution and youth preaching. So then he shared that how do we start? So then he felt that when we have youth preaching, many devotees will come and they can do huge book distribution. So that was expressed by Prabhuji in early 99, 2000. So we see that same thing, what he dreamt, so it's happening now. So that's why when we come in the touch with devotees, naturally we also get inspired. Because that's the nature of the devotees, that they always want to enthuse others, always want to inspire others, by which one can be engaged in the service of Lord. That's why satsang is most essential for us. Association of devotees is most essential, because it's in the association of devotees we get inspired. And that's why we always see that our Vaishnava Acharya say, Ekaki amar nahi payabal. Alone we can't do anything. It's only the support of the devotees. That's why one of the acharyas said that devotees are actually like my stick. Without the stick, old man can't walk. Similarly, if we don't have strength on our own to go ahead in Krishna consciousness, It's only because of the association of devotees that we go ahead. That's why His Holiness Sachin Maharaj explains one of his experience that he says that when I joined ISKCON and initial part of my life, as many devotees have just given up the material concept of life and they have got into the spirituality, but still a lot of things are lagging. A lot of thoughts are there of material life. So Maharaj was saying that he was having the service of washing the plates of the Lord, backup. So Maharaj was doing backup, but while doing backup, he was having his thoughts that, I have left my family, I have left my parents, and what will happen if my father, later on becomes heavy, and then will I be able to continue my Krishna consciousness? So all those thoughts were going on, and he was doing the washing of the plate. And Srila Prabhupada was there in that temple, and Prabhupada went to the temple hall to take darshan, and for a long time Prabhupada was taking darshan. And after that Prabhupada went to his room, and the temple manager came running to Maharaj. That time he was brahmachari, and he said, he first of all asked Maharaj, what are you doing here? It seems that you're not washing plates very nicely. And so Maharaj was shocked. He said, no, how you are saying that? And then he said that Prabhupada, while taking darshan, after taking darshan, he told that devotee that the deities told him that our plates are not very clean. And that was a very big eye-opening thing for Maharaj. So Maharaj said that on one side I was very happy to be in touch with Prabhupada, who was such an exalted personality that Lord could share his own heart to him. At the same time, he understood that he was not having proper consciousness while doing the services. That's why more we come in touch with devotees, especially the exalted devotees like Prabhupada and his followers, it surely will help us to introspect in our own heart where we stand. And it will inspire us to become free from the unwanted things in the heart. There is one nice, in this connection about the contaminations in the heart, very nice Abhanga composed by Tukaram Maharaj. So I just came across this. It's a very famous text made by him. He says that if we don't have proper consciousness, even though we may come across or in front of the Lord to take darshan, if we don't have proper attitude, it will not much help us. So he says, Nahi nirmala jivan and man, he says, kaya karile saban. So that's a very nice Abhanga of Tukaram. He says that if our mind is not pure, what will be the use of soap? With the soap, you may clean the cloths, but if the water itself is contaminated, you may go on washing, but it will never clean the cloth. Then he says that in the same way, if our chitta is not pure, then even though we may practice the process, if the consciousness is not very clear, the effect of the process will be very minimal. So that's why the process of purification for a devotee is chanting the names of Lord and taking the darshan as per this shloka. But that also requires a good consciousness from our own side. That's why Prabhupada says that what is the right way of taking darshan is we go in front of Lord and also take shelter of other devotees' prayers. That's why in the initial part, whenever we used to go, Prabhuji used to give class Radhishampur, and then he will also always quote many verses from Kunti Maharani, many verses from Bhagavatam, and we take the shelter of those verses which are prayed by the devotees of Lord, and we offer those same verses. At one place, Prabhupada says, if we are not able to remember those verses, we can also share what services we are doing when we take darshan of the Lord. So Prabhupada said that we can also offer your report of your services. So that's a modern version of offering our prayers. So, but in any way, if we go in front of Lord, surely if we have a proper attitude, it will be more effective to take darshan of the Lord. And also, we see in the pages of Brahma Samhita, where it says that if we have the love, salve of love in the eyes, premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santas sadaiva hridayeshu vilokanti. So, with this consciousness, with this particular thing in the eye, we can actually take darshan of the Lord. That when a devotee has love in his heart, then the darshan becomes more clear for us. So when we get association of devotees, it naturally helps us to rise from the mode of ignorance to mode of goodness. So association, especially when the devotees also share from the scriptures, so that association helps us to become purified, to change our consciousness. As His Holiness Sachin Maharaj was again sharing one of the places where he said that as we practice Krishna consciousness, one becomes gradually mature. So he gives example that when a small children are playing, and in their play, if some small girl comes there, they feel that there's an obstacle for us. But when the same children grow up and the same girl comes, they might not see that as an obstacle. They might see that as an opportunity to show off. So becoming mature in Krishna consciousness also means, as Maharaj says, that in the initial phases, the object of our love may be a very, may not be very sweet experience because our heart is not very clean. But as we practice Krishna consciousness, the same object, which is actually a real object of our love, becomes the relishable thing. That's why we see the prayers of all the exalted devotees in the scriptures. They relish. They relish the darshan of the Lord. They relish service of the Lord. They relish chanting the names of the Lord. So that's why Kevala Ananda Kanda, that's actual reality. That devotees always relish. But in our conditioned stage, we find it is very difficult for us to relish those things. And that's why it is recommended for us in the stage of sadhaka that we always take association. And it doesn't mean that when we feel purified or when we get purified, we don't need association. Actually, association is one which will purify our heart. And after purification, the same association will help us to relish what we heard in the beginning days of Krishna consciousness. So that's why there is nothing called as, like Mayavadis say, that we take shelter or support of the process and later on we give up the process. But the actual understanding is that we relish the process. That's why somebody asked Prabhupada that why are you chanting Hare Krishna? So Prabhupada said what? To chant more. So that is the meaning of relishing. That Srila Prabhupada was a special personality that he was always relishing what he was doing. So it is our great fortune that we came across such an exalted personality who always relish Krishna consciousness. And that's why he could give Krishna consciousness. And the same experience we see that the devotees with whom we are in touch, those who relish Krishna consciousness, will also gradually come to this stage where we can relish the more we purify and get purified. That's why many devotees have their own special verses which they feel very much attracted. You will always find devotees always relish. Some devotees like the prayers of Chitraketu Maharaj, where before he was standing in front of Indra, and he knew that he has to leave his body within a very short period of time. But he was relishing his own heart, consciousness. And he was praying to Lord that I don't desire nanaka prishtam, naparameshtam, nasarbhavamam, narasadipatyam, that I don't want anything of this world. So that is the sign of purified consciousness, that he is not attracted to the objects of this material world. What is the problem with the outsiders? When non-devotees, they see devotees practicing, one of the first thing they feel that the fear of giving up the material enjoyment. Because they don't know that ahara, nidra, bhaya, maithun, they are the necessities of life. They are not the goal of life. Because materialistic people never come across understanding that what is the goal of life. That's why they think that these are the only things which we are supposed to do. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Because there is no clarity for what is the actual goal of life. That's why it says that are you eating to live or living to eat? Isn't it? And most of the people, they're living to eat. Because they don't have any clarity about the goal of life. But when we come in the association of devotees, the first thing becomes very clear is what is the goal of my life. And the details follow later on. But at least the first clarity comes is what is my actual identity? What is the actual goal of my life? And based on that, we continue practicing. And in the impure stage, we might face struggles, like some devotees face struggles in taking darshan of Lord. But the same devotee, when he becomes purified by practice, by chanting the names of Lord, gradually one can relish. As we see in the pages of Mukunda Mala Stotra, where King Kulashekar, he was a great king, but he relishes the holy name of Lord. And then one of the verse in the verse number 14, he says, Prithvi Renu Anu Payamsi Kanika Falgu Spulinga Lagu Tejo. So he says that once our Savior has been seen, so there also he shares what is the result of seeing the Lord. What happens in the heart of the devotee who sees. The whole earth becomes no greater than a speck of dust. So Kulashekar Maharaj is explaining here that when we see the Lord darshan, we will become free from the attachment for this earthly planet, the enjoyments of this material world. Because the enjoyment which a devotee gets, or the relishing experience what a devotee gets by seeing the darshan of the Lord, in comparison to that, the things of this material world appears to be very, very insignificant. So he says that the whole earth, when I see the Lord, the whole earth becomes no greater than a speck of dust. All the waters of the ocean become mere droplets. The totality of fire becomes a minute spark. The winds become just a faint sigh. And the expanse of space becomes a tiny hole. So these lines explain very clearly that devotees, because they are relishing the beauty of the Lord, the other material things really doesn't matter for them. And finally, when Kunti Maharani says that Bhavato darshanam yatsyad apunarbhava darshanam. So that is the ultimate result, that when we see the Lord's form, which is so beautiful, as we see when Lord was about to leave from Hastinapur, many incidences happened. Uttara also ran to Lord for the help when Ashwatthama had sent the Brahmastra. So there also Prabhupada says that Uttara, because she was a pure devotee of Lord, she did not even ask help from her in-laws. She did not go to Arjun, although Arjun also had the power to retrieve the Brahmastra. But her faith and her attraction for the Lord was so intense that she just took the shelter of the Lord. And later on, when Lord was again about to leave, again Kunti Maharani comes and she also offers the prayers to Lord. And especially the concluding prayers of the Kunti Maharani, this particular line where she says that Bhavato darshanam yatsyad apunarbhava darshanam. So the result of taking darshan of Lord is that one becomes free from the cycle of birth and death. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Granthanath Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions anyone has?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for giving such a wonderful class. Prabhuji, you mentioned that when we are taking darshan, when we are following the process, we should also have our consciousness pure. Means we also have some endeavor from ourselves. But we came in this process to purify our consciousness. So how we can understand this, Prabhuji? Because we know our consciousness is very impure, and that's why we accepted this path. And you mentioned that we have to do some endeavor from our side. We should have some pure consciousness to take the darshan or chant.
Yes, thank you. That's a very nice question. And that Bhagavatam only says the answer for this question, that as a child also learns to walk, so many times he falls on the ground, but he takes the support of the same ground to learn walking. Similarly, when we come to Krishna consciousness, it's a two-way process. It's not one-way traffic. It's we take the support of the process, and the process itself only helps us to purify our consciousness. So that's why we have to also first practice, and the practice itself gradually purifies our heart. Like sometimes some outside people say that जब भगवान बुलाएंगे तब हम आएंगे. So that's not the way. Lord is always calling in by giving His Bhagavad Gita, the message from Bhagavad Gita. So Lord is always inspiring us to take the process. That's why the sequence is that we first take the process, even we are impure. That's why it says that whether we are purified or impurified, contaminated, we should always chant the names of Lord. So by taking the names of Lord in our impure stage, we become pure, and with that purified stage, we again chant the names of Lord with the actual relishing the heart. Hare Krishna. He has a question.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, like even while taking the darshan of the Lord, we have this impressing tendency to the Lord. Like when we are asking some prayers like, "Oh Lord, let me be non-envious." I am not feeling that genuine prayer, but a tendency to impress the Lord. Is it how?
There was one devotee in the early days where he also had said to Prabhupada that sometimes I don't feel like offering obeisances. So Prabhupada says, still you offer, gradually you will feel. In the same way, when we go in front of Lord to impress Lord, of course we should know that nobody can impress Lord. Because Lord is called as known as a Yogeshwar. He is a powerhouse of all the best things in this world. So even though sometimes we may go in front of Lord to show that we are very humble, so Lord knows, or He can very easily scan us. So He will see all things which are in the heart. So that's why the first most important thing is required is when we go in front of Lord to take darshan, we should be honest. There is no need to make a show, because we can't make a show in front of Lord. We can make a show in front of some people, or the living and dead in this world, but we can never make a show in front of the Lord. That's why when we come in front of the deity, we should know first thing that here is a place where I can't make any show. So best is to offer honestly. Best is to say that, my Lord, you see my condition. So whatever best you feel for me, so that I can serve devotees nicely, so that I can chant nicely, please grant those things. So that's why it's a desire, honest desire of a devotee to express his honest feelings in front of Lord. Would you want to add something? Yeah.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much for the wonderful class. Actually, sometime one may be in association, Prabhuji, nice association, but we are not there mentally in association. So how we can release the association, because we are having very nice association. So, but mentally also we should be totally occupied and release the association and learn all the wonderful things from Shastras. How we can do that?
Hare Krishna. As I said in the class only, that initially there will be always a struggle. something called as when we also install any equipment. So initial phase of the installation is always cumbersome. It takes long time. So once it is installed properly, it runs very nicely. But if we give up the process while installation itself, we will lose, right? Like any factory, they install the machineries, so it really takes time to set and run on the normal scale. Similarly, when we come in the association of devotees, initially we may not be there mentally, but at least physically we are there. That's the first thing. That's why association means what? First thing is to physically sit. And then gradually one will mentally also sit there. I agree what you are saying. Like there was a saint who was giving lecture and then many people were sitting there, started lecture in the evening, and after 2-3 hours, 50% left the class, and still he felt very inspired that at least 50% are very, and then still he continued from night 10 to 12, and out of those 50 remaining, 25% from that, 50% from that left. Then by the morning 4 o'clock he saw that there was one person sitting there, and he felt, Manushanam Sahastreshu. And he felt at least this one person is really genuine. But at the 4 o'clock in the morning, he somehow managed to say to this, devotee who was giving lecture class, Krishna Katha, he said, actually I also want to go, but you're sitting on my, blanket. So he was sitting there, but he was, conscious of his blanket. So that's why people are always blank. So when we sit with the right consciousness, but that will surely take some time. That's why in the beginning we just do what is told to us. Gradually we feel like to do. So similarly, in the beginning when we go to a doctor, we don't voluntarily go to a doctor, right? We all must be remembering our childhood days. But later on when we become mature, we ourselves go and say, please give the injection. Because we understand the importance of those things. Initially we might not understand the full importance of what we are hearing, but gradually if we go on hearing, one becomes more mature and understanding becomes more clear, then we can actually sit in that class. Thank you. Yeah, behind. Here.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. It was amazing. You wonderfully explained the meaning of ekanta as misinterpreted by the Mayavadis, and you corrected that it's told that one's ultimate goal is to attain Shri Krishna. So similarly, can you give the right interpretation of the words Tattvamasi and Aham Brahmasmi, Prabhuji?
Prabhupada says that Tattvamasi means I am that servant of Lord. There is a conversation between two people. So one person who says that there are people who say that Soham, I am that. So they think that I am that means I am that Supreme Lord. So then devotee says Dasoham. You are that Das of the Lord. Then the person says Sada Soham. He says Das Dasoham. That's why Kulashekar Maharaj 7 times he said I am Bhritya, 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 Tava Bhritya. So that is the actual position of this living entity. So we are that living entity, part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. So Mayavadis wrongly understand that to be themselves as Supreme Lord. But we always know that we are Amsha. And Amsha can never become whole. So that is the right understanding of the text given by Vyasadeva. Because Vyasadeva himself says that what is the difference between living entity and the Supreme Lord. So the author only gives clarification for his sutras. So that's why Srila Prabhupada says that we should always take shelter of the author and the parampara. Because the author only knows the actual meaning of the text which he has composed. So that's why, and if we see the pages of Bhagavatam very clearly, Everything is very clear from Bhagavad Gita. In fact, that's why our base should be Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam presented by devotees in the parampara. Because there are people who can give Bhagavatam also with a Mayavad interpretation. Because that is the sign of Kali Yuga. Because at least Shankaracharya was knowing that I can't touch this. He touched everything, but he never touched Bhagavatam. Because he is himself a topmost Vaishnava. Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. So now currently there are people who touch Bhagavatam and speak Mayavad on that. That is a ultimate degradation. But at least if we read Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, where Lord very clearly says that Mamai Vamsho. Yes. So that's what it really means. Thank you. I think we'll stop now. The time is over. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, bro. So, Srila Prabhupada says, when we see deities, we should see in such a way, we take darshan in such a way that we remember, it's in our mind. So it goes into our mind, leave the brush. So actually, what I feel like now we have many beautiful deities, Shri Radha Madhav, Vrindavan Chandra, and many other. So it becomes confusing, which to focus on.
Shastra says variety is the mother of enjoyment. So Prabhupada has taught us the process of relishing. So more variety is more we can relish. That's one of the perspective also when we have. So that's why devotees always relish various forms of the Lord, various deities of the Lord. So there is no need to have a tension whom to meditate on or whom to remember. Whichever you find that you love, any deity form, like some devotees. That's why Prabhuji, as he said, actually it was his desire only. He just told me that we should have a very beautiful deity, a combination of best of the deities of ISKCON. So that's why Radha Vrindavan Chandra manifested. So that's a desire of the devotees. So here you can see Radha Madhav also, Radha Shamsud also, and Radha Vrindavan Chandra also. Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna.
I can add one small thing. Sundarvar. Actually, you will see that even the same deity manifests different moods on different days also. And he is dressed with different type of dresses. And he manifests different moods. And also, in ISKCON, although you have Radha Shamsundar, Radha Madhav, Radha Vrindavan Chandra and different deities, these are all mood manifestation of the same Lord in different, just like even each of you, sometimes you wear a winter jacket and a cap, you look like in one way. Another day you wear white and white dhoti kurta, no cap, no jacket, isn't it? And when you are at home, when you are in the office, you look differently. So Lord also manifests different moods when He manifests in different deity forms. Somebody asked, is Krishna black or is Krishna white? See, Krishna is called Panduranga, correct, no? Pandu means white. When milk abhishek is done in Vitthal, Rakumai temple, he appears white, he is called Panduranga. When Krishna returns in the evening after herding cows and calves, this dust cloud comes on his face, he looks white. So we have white type of deity. And he also has Shamala Varna also. He has also like that. And the other devotee was asking about just Aham Brahmasmi and Tattvamasi. Actually, when is Tattvamasi said, like once His Holiness Satyananda Maharaj was telling about the story of how once a baby of an eagle, got mixed with the chicken on the ground. And he was also making sounds like chicken. He was making sound and going with the chicken. And the eagle parents are calling him, come up, come up. He was not coming. Because he thought, who is he? Chicken. So then the parent eagles came and picked him up and took him up in the sky and left him. That time he started flying. And he started swearing in the sky. Make sound like an eagle. So he was no more a chicken after that. Tattvamasi means, I understand you are the same in quality with Krishna. He is Satchidananda Vigraha, you are also Satchidananda Vigraha. What are you thinking about yourself? You are not a Panchamahabhut made of flesh and bones and stool and urine, bile and all these things. You are the spirit. So in the Shastra you find both statements, Abheda Vakyas and Bheda Vakyas. Sarvam Kalvam Idam Brahma. Aham Brahmasmi. Aham Brahmasmi means I am Brahma, I am spirit, I am not matter. And then the other statement, Samane Drukshe Purusho Nimagno Anisheshochiti Muhyamana, which means two birds sitting in a tree. That clearly says to Nityo Nityanam, Chaitana Chaitanam, Yeko Bahunam. Lord is only Yeka and we are Bahuna. So that is Bheda Vakya. So Bheda Vakya talks about difference between Lord and Jiva. Abheda Vakya talks about similarity between us. Even Jesus says in Bible, I and Father are one, he says. How are they one? They are one in mata, or one in opinion, or one in quality. Not that you mix Father and Son and make a flesh, one big football of flesh. You don't do that. They are one in spirit. When you align with your Father, then you are one with your Father in consciousness. That's the meaning. So it was a very beautiful class by Sundarvar. Let us chant on Hari Bol.